I'm Elmer St. Pierre, the National Chief of the Congress of Aboriginal People of Treaty 9, a Treaty 9 descendant. Today, I'm on Parliament Hill to strongly condemn the Liberal government action to railroad the interests of the Métis, the status, the non-status Indian treaty descendants, and Southern Inuit indigenous peoples living off reserve. Bill C-29, now before the Senate, ignores the voice of the over 80% of the indigenous people who live off reserve in Canada and the communities' voices of our provincial organizations. The entire National Congress of Aboriginal People they're shocked and frustrated at the federal or Liberal government gross action to exclude the national voice of the off-reserve and the non-status and the urban indigenous people at the National Council for Reconciliation created in Bill C-29. If the involvement of the new face of the Senate of Canada is to have any meetings, senators must act to amend this bill and ensure that CAP's national voice is at the table of reconciliation. Bill C-29 is now being literally railroaded through the legislation process. This bill process is revised that the damage from colonial policy and residential school and the Indian Act. These forced assimilation policies were left our off-reserve indigenous communities struggling for generations. The government's action to force the off-reserve voice out of Bill C-29 creates new levels of colonial policy and discrimination and continues to marginalize our people. The communities that the Congress of Aboriginal Peoples present are among the most marginalized and disadvantaged in Canada. Yet, like the Indian Act, our exclusion through policies such as the political application and the distinction-based policy continues to ensure colonialism policy remains alive and well, and our people continues to suffer. I would like at this time now to invite our National Vice Chief to the podium, Kim Bodine.
Good morning. My name is Kim Bowden. I'm the National Vice Chief of the Congress of Aboriginal Peoples. I'm a descendant of the Michelle First Nation and also a descendant of the Red River Métis. Although I'm pleased to be here today, same time I'm very disappointed that I need to be here today. The media should know that through the legislation process, amendments were made to include CAP on the Reconciliation Council. But despite the opposition's support, the Liberal government moved to eliminate CAP and forced the House to make that change happen. The Congress of Aboriginal Peoples is outraged that the Liberal government would intentionally lead a process of a discrimination and exclusion against any Indigenous people. Bill C-29 must be amended to actively include CAP's voice to guarantee a seat on the Reconciliation Council like our national Indigenous organizations counterparts. Just because we live off reserve, our treaty Section 35 rights should not be extinguished. Our peoples cannot understand how the current government believes our communities' experiences so severely impacted by residential schools, 60 Scoop, foster care, and the mass incarceration rate of Indigenous people in Canada that should be silenced by Bill C-29. We, the Congress of Aboriginal Peoples, are here today to strongly recommend the amendment to Bill C-29. Reconciliation begins with inclusion, not exclusion. Thank you, and we welcome any questions that you might have.